We back in the lab, we making some noise, so go turn your decibels up. Black skin, white coat, oh no, who was nice as us? Made Jimison, really told us no limit, so we about to take this up. Went from mixing in the kitchen to the lab, and nah, I can make this up. Whoa! B-SCI, be scientist, B-SCI, be scientist. We shining a light on the people of color to show them how fly it is. B-SCI, be scientist, B-SCI, be scientist. We back in the lab with white coats on our back, trying to show what time it is. Hey!
Welcome back to the B-Sciences podcast, a podcast by the Black Science Coalition and Institute, or B-SCI. When you hear this noise, that is our in-podcast citation, so please go to b-sci.org and you can find all of our citations ever. I am geoarchaeologist Jordy Chapman, and as always, we have the dope chemist herself,
Jana Carpenter.
And I'm going to apologize right off the bat for everybody out there. I woke up this morning and my allergies just decided that today was the day that they decided to make an appearance. So if you hear me sniffing during this podcast episode, it's not COVID. It's my allergies. I don't know why they decided to make a guest appearance today. I wish I could tell you, but that's what's happening. So that's how I'm doing right now. Jenna, how are you?
I'm all right. You know, as per usual, just trying to survive in grad school, as many of us are.
I mean, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. It's really, you just got to put God, my brain's gone now.
One step in front of the other. Yeah, I got you.
1 foot, 1 step, 1 breath. Is all it takes. Yeah. It's like my body is fighting it. It's like, wait, we don't have to though. Maybe let's not take one step. No, we'll take 1 step and then take another step and then see what happens.
It's definitely a struggle. Yeah. I mean, grad school is in full swing.
You're preparing for comps. Which do you mind?
I mean, I'm kind of already.
Yeah, do you mind updating the listeners on what that means exactly? I know we described it before, but I think it's a little bit more intricate than what I realized.
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. So comps, it's just short for comprehensive exams. It's basically the tests to advance a PhD student to a PhD candidate. So yeah, it's a process that most PhD students will have to go through. It's different for every department and also every student. Since I am a GA PhD student in anthropology, for us that means taking 3 to 4 days of testing. Each day is 3 questions based on 3 areas. Mines are basically geoarchaeology, theory, which is kind of a broad category because it's kind of like environmental science, but with like a focus on archaeology essentially. Then it's also on a culture area, which is for me going to be both Native American culture from the Mississippian, which is like 1000 AD to like 1500 AD. As I'm saying that, I'm sure I'm getting the dates mixed up, but that's what I said today. Also, and then that's basically colonial plantation period. So basically learned about slavery, which is just full of minefields of existential crisis. But whatever.
It's not like you have to relive generational trauma or anything.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Right.
Well, it's not like partially a descendant of that community.
Right. Just, Yeah. It's great to relive trauma and also be tested on it. I commend you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And certainly it seems a lot different from department to department. I can say, at least from what little knowledge I have, since I'm so far away from my own comprehensive exam, is that for chemistry, at least, in our department, we have 1 2 to 4 hour session where you sit with your committee and go through an entire grant proposal that's completely original research and a novel
Oh,
research topic that you can get no help from anyone.
yeah.
And so I guess it's like a 10 to 12 page grant proposal, like start to finish. How can you come up
Hmm.
with a way to accomplish research in an effective way and also answer novel questions in chemistry? um, which
Hmm.
when listening to you sounds way easier than what you have to do, because I can only imagine how much time it takes to prepare yourself for an exam like this. Would you even say that there is a logical amount of time that you can prepare for this? Because it seems like you could never be fully ready.
Nope. No. No. I mean, I've basically been reading um the since like uh April or May, and we're in September now, and I'm still not finished. Partially now, what I should say is that I've definitely, it's been some weeks where it's not has been more reading than other weeks is probably the best way to say that. I mean, there are you because you gotta
Yeah, I
live,
mean, you are
right?
a
So
human
like,
being, so
yeah, I mean, sometimes so that happens. You got to do human stuff and not read for 8 hours a day. So instead of doing that, you just watch TV for 8 hours that
and you
day.
did move
But
your
then you
whole
feel real
life
guilty about
recently,
it.
right? So
And I did move,
I mean,
so that happened.
and there's a
Yeah, I
global
mean, this just
pandemic happening at the
it's
same
a
time.
global pandemic.
So,
So I mean, you try basically. I'm still not finished. My exam is gonna be near the end of October. And then I didn't mention this earlier, but like also in anthropology, you get the written portion, which is the part where I've been doing the most reading for, basically. But then there's also the oral portion of the exam, where basically you write so you write um you answer your 3 to 4 questions over that 3 to 4 day span, and then at least 2 weeks later you meet up with your committee who asks you the written questions that you had to answer, and then they sit in a room and with you, and then they ask you to defend those answers out loud. So that is also stressful because it in some ways it's supposed to be a help for if you didn't feel like you explained something well enough in the written portion, that you have a second chance to answer the same question, basically. However, I mean, it's still just as stressful, if not more stressful, because it's now no longer you in a room by yourself. It's now in a room with everybody who is hoping and expecting you to know that stuff. So it's a double whammy,
sounds
basically.
like a lot of fun. Like us, like so much fun.
Uh, no,
Um,
it's a lot of things.
well, we all think you're doing great. Um, and
Sure.
everyone at B-SCI will be rooting for you. We know you got this. So be patient with yourself. I feel like that's the only thing you can do. You've you got this.
Yeah, sure. We hope so. We'll see. October is soon, so we'll see.
That is true. But hey.
But I mean, enough of that depressing news, Jenna.
Yeah, let's move on
You
to
got some
something
COVID
even more
news,
depressing, like COVID.
right? Yeah.
Um yeah, so just to bring down the mood as much as I possibly can, because I love doing that. Um as
Hmm.
we all know,
Hmm.
COVID is still rampant globally, and especially in the United States. We are just having a good old time with this Delta variant.
Yep.
Yeah. And just to kind of recap, there are 4 different strains of COVID-19 that are currently strains of concern or variants of
Mm-hmm.
concern, VOC. There's the alpha, beta, gamma, and of course, delta, which is I'm sure you've heard of in the news. This is the easily transmissible variant, and it is causing much higher rates of hospitalization. And if you check your local hospital status, you may or may not find that a lot of hospitals are completely full to their max capacity. And we're starting to see some of the highest numbers that we've seen since January of this year. So this is now like the fourth wave of COVID, and it is slowly becoming just as bad as last fall. So we're not quite to the peak of where we were when we were on total lockdown, but the current 7-day average of COVID cases in the United States is currently at 146,000 cases per 7 days. So if you think about that, that's a lot of people getting COVID.
Yep.
And of those numbers, do you want to guess how many people account for being unvaccinated who end up hospitalized? It's
What?
it's 99% of cases.
Yeah, it was. I was like, it's gotta be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does this mean? This means that first of all, I feel like
What could that mean, Jana?
this means a lot of things, but most importantly, that vaccinations are not only one of the greatest tools that we have with combating this virus and getting it under control, but it is critical so that people can stop dying. Thousands of people per day are dying of COVID, and again, 99% of those people that are dying each day are unvaccinated. Vaccination is not the only tool to combat this virus, but it is one of the most effective tools that we have in current research. And so, I mean, I don't know what else I can really say other than if you don't trust me, we will have a list of different literature that is peer reviewed. And when I say peer reviewed, I mean by people who are experts in this field. Big distinction there, not people on Facebook or YouTube. So,
or Instagram or
Twitter. Not your neighbor, not your TikTok. Yeah. And also, speaking of TikTok, I have to just mention this one thing because I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Unvaccinated people, not all of them, but the very radicalized portion of our society that are against vaccinations have now decided to call themselves purebloods.
Oh no.
Oh yes. So that's a thing.
What?
That's a thing now. That's fun.
When did that start? What?
Yeah. Yep. Someone sent it to me from TikTok and I kind of I was on autopilot for the rest of the day because I thought I don't even know where I thought I was.
Is this Harry Potter now? Is that what this is?
That's what it sounds like. And
what?
So
also, there's a lot of Nazi overtone to the word. A lot of
Nazi overtones. Yeah. Glad you said that because it does feel super duper Nazi-like, doesn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, super. Wow. The vibes are not. The vibes are off.
Wow.
Not great at all. So.
Jeez. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's what the fuck.
Yep.
Oh man.
This is
it's funny, like it's just funny because like at a certain point, B-SCI has masks. Right. We have masks that you can buy. And this is partially a plug, but this is just the logic I was kind of going through when I was putting the mask up on the B-SCI shop. My logic was that we're going to put these up here and we're just going to keep them on the store. But at some point in time, we're going to have to take them off because we're going to beat this. Like, it's no way that we're going to be doing this forever. And now I have one B-SCI mask. That's all I have is one B-SCI mask right now. Over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been like, maybe I should buy a couple more. I'm definitely by. I'm just going to now. If there are people out here like, yeah, I'm pure blooded because I'm not vaccinated. Like,
I don't
I want to protect myself from that.
honestly. I don't want I don't want the Kool-Aid. If I'm being honest,
No,
I'd rather
yeah, I don't
not.
want that one. Nope.
I don't know what kind of water y'all are drinking. I don't know.
Mm,
I just don't know. I don't understand anymore. I tried to be
yeah,
compassionate and try to understand. Um,
yeah.
but at this point,
I took
I've
that one too
gone.
far.
This is beyond my comprehension. Beyond.
It is.
Um, Vaccinations are not new, and to be completely
They're
honest
not.
with you, neither is this one. They have been working on this
This is
vaccine for a long time.
yes.
Science takes
But then
time, and this is no different.
but then people, the thing that's been frustrating to me the most, because sometimes you're out and you hear people talking about it, and you just hear some of the things they say. I just remember recently, like, I don't have a washer and dryer in my apartment, so I go to the laundromat, and I'm sitting in the laundromat washing clothes, and I heard someone say, they put coronavirus, that the like that Lysol or like disinfectant spray is effective against coronavirus, and it's been on the bottle for some amount of time, like since like whatever. I don't know, remember what they were saying, but they were like, it's been on the bottle even before this happened. And in my head, I went, that's because coronavirus. This isn't the first coronavirus, because coronavirus is a family of viruses, in the same way that if the bug spray bottle says roaches, it's not because there's been one roach, it's because there are multiple different types of roaches. Like, how is that? It's not that
It's
hard,
really
honestly.
not.
What are we talking
Like, Google
about?
is right there. It's right there.
I will say though, and that's another thing. Like, people, there are people who will go on Google and just do the first thing that
The
comes up,
biased research.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's super biased. It's just people who go like, oh, like because Google is going to give you what you want, but we think Google's algorithm is like highly effective at like being right. And Google's algorithm isn't about being right. It's about giving you a search, a query when you ask for it. It's not about if it's the right thing. It just does it's doing what you asked it to
That
do.
is very true.
Like, it's just been hard to watch. I agree, Jenna. I'm just losing so much compassion. I've been trying to just not been like, all right, like, like science, and acknowledge generational racism.
Hmm.
But like at a certain point, you just go like, at the same time, you also have to do the work to not do this.
Yeah.
Especially if you have people call them pure blood now, because that should be a red alarm to any person of
Biggest
color,
red flag.
especially black people. That's a huge red flag about why you should not be listening to those
I
people.
mean, I'm not insinuating anything, but J.K. Rowling has been problematic in the past, so none of this really surprises me. But
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
at the same time, it is
Mm,
unacceptable. It is unacceptable. If you are someone who calls yourself this or know someone that does, I really need you to think about the language. Like, words have so much power, and I think a lot of the times people like to make the idea of giving just being aware of what you're saying to be weakness, like,
mhm.
oh, this generation, so they're all so fragile. No, we're all just trying to be aware of like what we're
Right.
saying and doing.
This shit. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
because that definitely has some historical like racial
Hmm.
undertones, and that is just not okay. Not to mention that this has just been a polarized issue to begin with,
Mm.
but it's becoming unacceptable, completely unacceptable.
No, it's definitely unacceptable. Like, it's that's terrible. Like, it's just that's that you can't be all like. I understand like being skeptical, but that's too far. Like that's no longer skepticism. That is pure cynicism. And the difference should be clear. But to be a skeptic does not mean to never trust anything. It means to be cautious about what people tell you until given further evidence. To be cynical means you won't take any evidence. If especially if it's from certain people, and that is a problem. Like, yes, I understand. Like, there are people out there who just don't trust the government, for example, and 100% understand. Like, you should not just blindly trust the government. That is not a good idea in any context. At the same time, it can't be, well, I don't trust the government, so therefore I will trust anything that happens on social media. That is also not effective. That for several two key things about that. If you're not going to trust the government and you're going to trust what happens on social media, you're saying you're going to trust Twitter, Facebook, Google, Instagram, whatever social media company, and they have huge red flags too. Do they have some good points? Yes, sometimes they do good things, but they also do things that are highly, highly just unethical and dangerous. Two is that and one of those things leads to my second point, which is they don't always moderate who's on their app, which means that people who don't care about your interests are going to say things like pure blood without thinking, that is not in your interest. So yes, you don't want to trust the government, but that does not mean trust anyone else just because it's not the government. You need to be critically evaluating all of these things, and you have to understand that you can't just go, well, I just don't trust anybody. No, there are people you can trust. You have to go find those people. It's just wow.
It's just making statements about things and saying, well, I just don't understand. Like, I get that, but you can't just be so steadfast in your you're without understanding what's happening and say, well, if I don't understand it, obviously this makes sense to me and that's the end of it. No, you have to, like,
right.
There's always there's always another side to the story, and I really think it comes down to being willing to listen, which is something that just is kind of gone, I think, with.
No, it is. I understand it. That is definitely gone.
What's really sad to see is that a lot of the healthcare workers that I've been listening to on Political Rewind on NPR, which is one of my favorite shows to listen to, they'll have healthcare workers or experts in their field come on and talk. And the thing that's been coming up the most is that they're saying, last year when we were all in lockdown, people would cheer for healthcare workers at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at this turn of the shift. And now you see people protesting and harassing healthcare workers in hospitals and outside of hospitals. And it's really sad to see, because what happened in a year that all of a sudden the people who are taking care of the same people who are not willing to listen to healthcare experts to get vaccinated are the same people who end up in these hospitals and are taking their last breath because they have succumbed to COVID. It's just really disheartening to see. Like, it's dehumanizing. Not just other people, but yourself. Really, where's the compassion for yourself? There's so many videos of people who are saying, "Oh, well, I used to not believe in the vaccine, but you should get it because look, I'm on my deathbed." Why does it take getting on your deathbed to realize you shouldn't have to go through an experience just to have compassion for those who experience it? I don't know. But that's all I have to say about that.
I agree.
Because, yeah.
No, I agree. We should move on, but I didn't know about the pure blood thing.
Yeah.
And that is alarming. But we will move on from that, because we have talked about COVID a lot, and we will talk about it more as it progresses in these weird times.
Very weird times.
But let's move on to other weird things in science,
let's get back to science. More other science. Different science.
Something else that happened over the last couple of weeks is Hurricane Ida, which happened. It made landfall in Louisiana on August 29th. And over the next couple of days, it kind of caused a lot of damage over in different parts of the country. I mean, obviously, it went from Louisiana and found its way to the Northeast, where there were massive amounts of flooding in New York. It flooded parts of the subway system, parts of New Jersey, and definitely hit Philly in ways that, I mean, I sort of in a weird like exhibitionist way. Like I kind of wish I was there to see it, um, but also just seeing the pictures just makes it just look wild. So for the people in Philly, you already know, but for the people who aren't familiar, is that an entire part of our interstate system was flooded, basically. Like literally, it looked like Venice. It looked like it was looked like a waterway. It looked like a canal, basically. Um, and it's just wild to see because living in Philly, and then also that same weekend there were there were not hurricane because that's what caused it, but tornado warnings. In fact, a tornado touched down in like New Jersey somewhere, like no less than a couple miles away from the border of Philadelphia. Which wow, because this is the second time this year that a tornado touched down in the Philadelphia metro area, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say ever. Like in just my lifetime, it's been like massive blizzards, which that's not unexpected, but earthquake, tornado, like those are that's a weird trifecta, basically. And also, the flooding happened on just it was just basically 100-year flood, basically, which I took a fluvial geomorphology class, and we talked about those events a lot, just how those could happen. But we also talked about how global warming and human-led climate change could lead to more 100-year flood events, and those will probably be more common as time goes
Yeah,
on.
I've never. Well, I probably shouldn't say never, but at least I don't remember a hurricane ever traveling across the entirety of the United States, like from top to bottom, or from bottom to top, I guess.
I mean, usually what happens is that what usually happens for us in the Northeast is that if a hurricane hits in like the Louisiana area, like or if it hits Florida, it kind of like loses steam
Right.
by the time it gets to us. It just basically we just get high wind
Right.
warnings. But for it to like maintain so much energy across the country, it's just that's crazy.
It just, I, I just don't, I can't comprehend it. And the fact that it's not going to
Mm.
really let up anytime soon, these kinds of freak weather incidents are not going to stop happening, because it is linked to global warming. So that's definitely concerning. Um,
Yeah, to kind of give people in Georgia a sense of like what that looked like when 676 flooded in Philly. There so I'm trying to think about what it part of Atlanta this is. It's basically downtown Atlanta. But it's like when 85 meets, I think that's I-20 if I'm right, Jenna, like um right, basically you've seen this picture before if you don't know the Atlanta area. It's basically like the picture that you see whenever the way I think about it is like, oh, this is where they took that shot of the Walking Dead. Basically it's like right near Centennial Park, I think that's what it's called, like that area. Imagine if all of that like high part of the highway was just underwater. That's what happened in Philly, basically.
which
So
is
just
crazy.
craziness.
Like, yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
um, way to visualize it, because as we all know, those places are like usually always packed with people, like packed,
Mhm.
especially on the freeway. So it's just like imagining all of that underwater. It just sounds apocalyptic, truly, because
It looks
that's
apocalyptic.
crazy.
But also if there's any humor in this, in pure Philadelphia fashion, I did see a video of like someone doing a backflip into the
Oh
water.
boy. Okay.
Now, am I sure that person probably got introduced to a lot of sewage
Yeah.
and like giardia and whatever else was in the sewage system. However, that is true Philadelphia fashion to go like, oh yeah, there's a huge weather event or a huge political event. Let me figure out how to have fun. I don't approve that you did it, but I do understand that it's part of the Philadelphia ethos, apparently.
Yeah,
So that
you gotta
happened.
laugh to keep from crying for sure.
I guess so. Also, that same weekend was Made in America with like however many people were there. I know Meek Mill was there. I forget who. I don't think Little Nas X was there. I forget who was there. Someone else came out, like another big name, like Doja Cat maybe. But it was just like, you guys, like, come on. Like literally, like they basically were like, they cleaned up 676. They got the water out of the interstate system basically, and then like the next day, or like literally even like up until the concert ended, like they just did it, and the people were able to go home like using that same using 676. But it's just like, how many people were out there during, like, did we not just see this at Lollapalooza in Chicago? Like, what are we doing out here, guys?
Yeah, and Afropunk is actually supposed to be happening like in person pretty soon. I think the end of October, if I'm not wrong. So
Mm.
yeah, a lot of big social events that possibly should not be happening. But
AKA the NFL season and college football season. But
yeah, today's the second home game for the University of Georgia, and
mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah, that
That
happened.
happened. Yeah.
But what else you got?
I have so many words about all of those things, but I will
Mm-hmm.
not comment.
Not right now.
Not right now, at least. Not on air. But in a little bit more of a less scary news,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact a little bit humorous, if this
Mm-hmm.
tickles your fancy. Why did I say that? Okay. Scientists have I'm very sorry. It came to my brain and I said it, and
It
it's
came
just
up.
like,
I
can't.
mean, I'm not mad at it. I thought it was funny.
I knew. I said, my brain was like, don't say this thing, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna say it. It's fine. But in our next news article, scientists have
Mm-hmm.
successfully trained cows how to pee in a designated spot. How fun is
Right.
that? That is so much fun.
It's
It's
very interesting.
adorable. I mean, they literally call these cows like, the way that they're potty training them is associated with how you would potty train a toddler, which I think is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And they've decided to call these testing, like, the way they called it's just so funny. I'm so sorry.
It's crazy.
They're calling it the Mooore, which is where they go to expel themselves. Now,
Right.
in more seriousness, this is actually a really great thing that they're doing, because these cows, as we all know, cows, they produce a lot of methane gas in the form of passing gas.
It's like,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
already, we kind of already knew that somewhat, but also in their urine, they do release
Mm-hmm.
really highly toxic, noxious gases, such as nitrous oxide, which
Mm-hmm.
goes into the waterways, and then now your waterways are just concentrated with nitrous oxide, which is really difficult to get rid
Mm-hmm.
of, especially in drinking water. And then it cycles back into the ecosystem, and now you have, acid
Mm-hmm.
rain, and it just causes a slew of issues. So
Mm-hmm.
just being able to get these cows to relieve themselves in a different area where they can collect this urine and stabilize it or neutralize it in a way that's no longer as dangerous to the rest
Yeah.
of
I mean,
society.
they also apparently are trying to use it for fertilizer too. which it's another. That's an interesting feedback
Yeah.
loop. So I thought that
Yeah,
was
so if you
cool.
can neutralize it and just isolate the nitrogen, nitrogen is one of those highly important nutrients for fertilization and growth of plants and things like
Hmm.
that. So, yeah, it's like it's kind of a win-win um, for everyone. I just think it's adorable that they're getting these cows to learn how to do this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. On the other hand, something else I thought about, because I also saw this article. Something else I thought about was that while it's good that they're trying to figure out ways to like mitigate, like, you know, the release of greenhouse gases and with cows and things like that, and even trying to use fertilizer or use it, like, their urine and feces for fertilizer. I was like, but also, like, the beef industry is huge. So while this is beneficial for that, this could also have a negative effect where it could cause like the beef industry to go, oh yeah, well, we can just produce more cows then, because like we'll just keep putting them in and letting wheels to the bear from that
Right.
way. Which, yes, cows, that's definitely, that will help if they're going to just continue to be like an uptick in like the beef industry. But cows also take up a lot of
Yeah.
water. Like the meat industry as a whole accounts for a lot of the problems we see with climate change and things like that and greenhouse gases. So I hope that this doesn't incentivize like them to just go, oh, we'll just do it this way. So we because it still wouldn't be enough basically if every like part of the beef industry started to use this method, it wouldn't be enough to stop like the rise in greenhouse gases basically. So that's my concern, is that it will make them look like it'll make them look like they're doing something good when it's just when they're still kind of doing the same thing. So I hope that doesn't
Yeah,
happen,
yeah,
but we'll
that's a
see.
really good point because a lot of the times these companies can find loopholes to bypass and say,
Yeah.
well, we've cut down emissions by such and such percent. And so therefore
Right.
we can increase production by whatever percent. So yeah, that's definitely a concern because
Hmm.
there's always going to be loopholes um, that people will
Right.
find um, to justify this kind of production. And it's just, I don't know, it's hard to say whether or not this is going to be a long-term
Yeah.
solution to some of these bigger issues, but in all they can always be doing more than what they are. So
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of like when you hear a word like clean coal, you're like, okay. Like for the person who doesn't know anything about coal, they say, oh yeah, I'm sure coal can be cleaner, but you can also just use like solar or wind energy, and you wouldn't have to worry about coal. So I hope it's just not like that. But again, we'll see. This only came out like what was it, like September 13th or something like that? Like,
right,
so it's
and it's
fairly
only
new. So
happening
who
in
knows?
New Zealand currently, and some parts of
Hmm.
Germany have started to take on the same project. So it's like obviously it's not even um, a global
Right.
solution that people are adopting yet.
Hmm.
So yeah, it'll take some time to see.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep. We'll see. Another thing that happened this past week is the first civilian space flight actually launched. It was funded by SpaceX. The mission was called Inspiration 4. Its crew was commanded by Jared Isaacman, who is the founder of Shift 4 Payments. And part of the crew was also Haley. I'm not going to pronounce her last name right, but it's like Akranu or something like that. She's a physician assistant at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Um, Chris Sambrowski, who is an aerospace data engineer, and Cyan Proctor is a pilot and geoscientist. They launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And I think, if I'm reading the dates correctly, they launched on September 15th, and they were only going to be up in space for 3 days. So they might actually be coming back down today off the coast of Florida. If not today, then sometime this weekend. But part of it is that why this is interesting is just that one is just the first time that there's been an all civilian crew being sent to space, which means space travel is becoming a lot more safer for just like an untrained astronaut to find their way up there. So the ongoing commercialization of space is definitely it's well on its way, and definitely is not showing any signs of slowing down. But also, in addition to that, Isaacman had a goal to raise. This is helping him raise awareness for his goal to raise $200 million to help cure children's cancer and children's cancer research. So it's got a cause behind it, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't pay attention to this one as much as I was paying attention to like the one where this past summer where they sent another crew up to go to the International Space Station. Which feels so long ago actually, but that happened earlier this year. Damn. But yeah, I mean, I didn't pay attention to this one, but it is a big event, you know, the fact that we because things like this have been tried before. Some of them are actually quite famous for um not being successful. One of the Challenger explosions had a civilian person on it, and when that blew up, it was very tragic because it said that space wasn't, you know, entirely safe yet, and it will never be entirely safe. But you know, this is definitely a step in the right direction if this mission continues to be successful. That one day, you know, your average person will be able to just hop on a spaceship and just go, oh, you know, just gonna go to the International Space Station, take a quick jaunt, come back home, you know, eat dinner. And as things progress, we won't see this in our lifetime, probably not. But one day, if you start colonizing other planets like Mars per se, that as that happens, it'll be even just like, oh, well, you know, I'm gonna take a vacation to Mars and I'll be back in 2 days or whatever. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, I just hope it doesn't become a commercialized thing where only the rich can access this kind of thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I in general, it's a step in the right direction in terms of like understanding how we can, you know, live in space, which is crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
We were talking about TikTok earlier, and something I didn't put this down in like the notes to talk about for today, but um, there's a dude on TikTok who goes by Casual Geographic, and he talks about like animals basically. And I highly recommend that if you have a TikTok that you go like TikTok has become. I set a timer for myself whenever I'm on TikTok. I set a 5 minute timer for myself, or it's like either 5 or 10 minutes, because I know TikTok is highly addictive, and just you'll be scrolling all day, and TikTok will not let you leave. They make you hit the back button twice, which is dangerous. So I set like a 10 minute timer for myself. But one of the people who I enjoy is like seeing this dude name. I think that's what his TikTok name is, like Casual Geographic. He'll talk about animals and stuff like that. But science TikTok has been.
Yeah, I just I saw one TikTok where and I wish I could remember the user, but maybe you know, they did a rap for each planet. That was
Oh,
hilarious.
yes, it was fire. Yeah. I did see that.
They even included Pluto. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, you know,
but I thought it was hilarious.
yeah, I thought it was great actually. I thought the Jovian planets, which are like the gas giants, I thought those were they immediately they bodied the like terrestrial planets like Earth and the rocky planet. I thought it was a clear distinction. It's like once you got to like um Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and all like it was immediately clear who was taking the
I
win home
mean,
that day.
if nothing else compels you to watch this TikTok, at one point they do say it's a hot girl summer for about one of the planets, and that's when I was like, okay, yes, I am committed. I will watch to the end.
I'm here for it. Though I will say Pluto, even though it's not a planet, came in with the best, like, bodied everybody. Just immediately, just going in. Like, all right, that's wrapped. It's over. It's a game.
Yes.
So yeah, TikTok is good
Yeah.
for that stuff. It's good for creativity, and that's what I enjoy about TikTok. Now, like you were talking about earlier, there's definitely that dangerous side to it. But science TikTok is a part of TikTok that I highly, highly support. There are a lot of Black science communicators on there too. Who are, for example, the good old Dr. Chanel Towson is talking tea on TikTok. I think she's got good stuff. I know I've seen Raven, the science maven on there. There are a bunch of people I've seen on there. Again and again, I think I don't. know if this dude who does the animal talk, I think he might have a degree in like animal health or something like that. So I think he is like at least some type of scientist. I think so. I mean, it's just good stuff. B-SCI has a TikTok. It usually is just basically us kind of reposting our things from Instagram. But we are trying to figure out how to do more science communication stuff. So yeah.
Well, the only other news that we could discuss, which is more of a public health policy sort of update, does
Mm-hmm.
involve the new Texas abortion ban, which is now signed into law.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah.
this is a really fragile topic because it's just like these
Yeah.
are a lot of the times lawmakers who are uh, white men who have no business talking about
Nope.
um,
It's old white shitty men.
yeah,
That's what it
yeah,
is.
just governing women's bodies. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from a lot of law experts, they have all kind of conclusively said that this is unconstitutional, um, just flat
Yeah,
out.
just yeah. The fact that it even got passed is ridiculous, and I don't mean to cut you off here. Um, but from my understanding, is that Roe v. Wade is the law of the land, and therefore this should not have happened. So in a way, so Roe v. Wade is a Supreme Court case and about abortions, which said abortions are legal. So this should not have happened. This should have been killed on the floor, and it was not. So in some ways, this is a direct challenge to Roe v. Wade, and not to get political, but if the court, because of things that happened over the last couple of years with the previous president, decides to stay to its conservative values, then this could effectively overturn Roe v. Wade. Or not even effectively, but like actually overturn Roe v. Wade. So there are a lot of concerns here.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, a lot of concerns for sure, because there's so many things that go into why someone would seek
Mm-hmm.
an abortion, and none of that has to do with anyone else except for the person um, and their own decision to make that. So I don't know. This is just really a crazy thing to be talking about now because it's starting to become very much a reality that we need to consider. And I would definitely keep an eye out on all of the red states because this is already starting to trickle into
Mm-hmm.
Georgia. There are lawmakers
Mm-hmm.
that are already trying to draft up legislation that mirrors this new law. Um, and it's all just a little bit disturbing. Putting out bounties on
Yeah.
people just doesn't
Yeah.
seem.
That
Hmm. Yeah.
that part seems real crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because I mean, where's all this money coming from to pay these
Right.
bounties on people? I don't know because
It just
I mean, this money
it just
could be
sounds like another
used
way.
towards helping people get affordable health care, but God forbid we use our
Mm-hmm.
money for something good. Um,
No, that sounds that sounds ridiculous, Jenna.
yeah,
Why would we use money on good stuff?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just crazy. I don't know what I
You
was
know.
thinking.
Mm-mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's happening.
yeah, I've seen this too, and it's very disappointing. Very, very disappointing.
But that's all I have, and I hate that I had to end it on such a sour note. But there's a lot of things
We are
happening.
we we are in very weird times, Jenna. Like, I mean, this isn't necessarily science news, but I mean, September 11th just passed, and we just celebrated the weirdest 20-year anniversary for anything ever. Because as 9/11 anniversaries were happening, we are also talking about again women's rights in the Middle East, and Afghanistan, after we were expecting that to not have to be a conversation after everything that happened in 9/11. And here we are talking about how there's a anti-human rights government that we are not supporting. I don't think we're going to go. They're not going to go back in this time. Probably not. And again, this is definitely on a more political note, but it's disappointing to see just the way the world is trending right now. You got a global health pandemic. You got women's rights being abused everywhere, climate change, and just a bunch of nonsense. That's really nonsense. What it boils down to.
Whole lot of nothing. About something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So thanks for listening to Be Scientist this week. We are sorry to do that.
I mean, on a lighter note, this is why it's important for all of our listeners to want to be scientists, because your knowledge and input is so valuable. And I'm in the middle of writing my personal statement of research for the NSF grant for GRFP. And what's coming up a lot is, as Black people, our thoughts are crucial for the progression of research and scientific discovery, because our thoughts, Black and brown people, your thoughts matter, okay? And you deserve a seat at the table, because I'm not happy with what I see. And it's going to take us bringing ourselves out of it, because obviously the odds are against us currently. We can make change where we can. So if nothing else, I just hope that we can continue to encourage you to be scientists.
With that said, catch you next time. Be Scientist is a podcast by the Black Science Coalition and Institute, or B-SCI, a 501c3 nonprofit. Be Scientist is hosted by both Jana Carpenter, chemist and B-SCI's Research and Development Officer, and Jordan Chapman, geoarchaeologist and B-SCI's president. Music is produced by Delaralo, and lyrics are by Jana. Special thanks to Michael, Mike, Cast, and Marshall, and the Plaza Abbey Studios. If you'd like to donate to B-SCI, visit our official website, bsci.org. That's b-sci.org. Your donation supports the Be Scientist and B-SCI's other projects. We couldn't do it without you. So, please tune in next time, and always, be scientists.